Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome a man who needs no introduction. However, he insists upon it. I'd like to introduce a man who has seen it all, but has understood very little of it. Paul Osterhout. Character, integrity, principle. People want to know why Paul hasn't run for public office. I just told you. Paul Osterhout, a man who has made anonymity a household name. And now, I introduce a man who is clever and witty, and I could go on and on, except I'm having a terrible time reading his handwriting. Give it up for Paul Osterhout!
Thank you for that lukewarm. Oh, am I on? Am I? Okay. I can't hear myself. You ever heard the term "sit back, relax, and enjoy the show"? We used to hear it a lot, right? Today's audiences, they don't want to hear that. They want to be part of the show. They want to influence the show. They want to be immersed in your storytelling. So, the biggest problem we have in any amusement park, museum, cultural institution is grabbing the attention of your audience. It's the biggest problem. It's not technology. It's not getting people through the door. It's once they're there, holding their attention. Now, why is that? Oh, by the way, one other thing. Congratulations, humans. Our attention span is now less than a goldfish. This, by the way, was a real story. About 4 or 5 years ago, it was based on some research I think was done by Microsoft. They had looked at page views and how long it takes a person to be interested or not interested in a web page. So, of course, the science behind the headlines is flawed because depending on what you're doing, your attention span can be obviously greater or not. But why is that? We can all agree, our attention spans have drifted lower, lower, and lower, lower. Why is that? This thing right here. 10 years old, 15 years old. You look here, 12 seconds our attention span, and now this was a few years ago, 8 seconds. It's probably less now because of this. We can do anything instantly. We need instant gratification. I want to watch a Lionsgate movie, got my phone. Order a pair of jeans, got my phone. Order lunch, have it delivered, got my phone. It's all right here. And so that has caused a big problem in what we do, in that we need to find better ways to grab their attention, hold their attention. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. Okay. I'm going to use some terms here, and then hopefully I'll define some of them. For me, there's an umbrella called audience engagement. And that's kind of what we want to do, right? We want to have audience engagement. Sometimes we use interactivity, sometimes we use immersion. So there's lots of different tools at our disposal, and we're going to talk a little bit about those in just a second. Okay. Actually, there's not a real agreement about what this means, what this audience engagement means. We do know that Disney and that won't work. Hey, better? Okay. It's my puffy cheeks from a week at IAPA. And you'll figure that out. Okay, there we go. All right. So there's been this section got it. So we hear audience engagement or interactivity, and like the flavor of the month is VR. Maybe it was the flavor of last year. It's still a flavor of the month. And why is that? Why are we trying to solve this problem? It's because we need to grab your attention and hold it. Okay. So there's really no definition of what audience engagement means. It means whatever we want it to believe. But let's talk about some of the terms so we can, as we move forward, at least you will know what I'm talking about. Okay? So immersion, characterized by emotional relationship between the audience and the participant, the givers, right? The production. Interactivity, the physical relationship between the audience and the production. Okay? I'm going to use these words backwards and forwards interspersed because I think there's a connection, and I think just because we say we have interactivity, that doesn't mean we have immersion. So it's two different things. Think of immersion and interactivity as tools that help us get to audience engagement. Okay? All right. I want to do an experiment. Number one. Who here plays cards? Anybody play cards, like to play cards? Yeah? Ah, okay. By the way, you don't have to go, you just have to stand up. That's all. All right, let me see some hands again. All right. What's your name? I'm sorry. Jeff. Excellent. Thank you for volunteering, Jeff. Now, could you come up to the stage? No, I'm just kidding. Jeff, thank you for helping. I brought with me a deck of cards as well. Oh, here it is. Okay, deck of cards. Can you catch this for me? And Jeff is an actor. All right, Jeff, shuffle those cards up, please. Oh, Jeff, you take them out of the box. You look kind of silly just throwing the box back and forth. All right, fan those cards out in front of you. Look, take one card out. Take one card out and look at it. Okay? Memorize it. Show it to the people around you in case you forget. Very good. Great. Shuffle it back in so I can't find it. All right, and then throw the cards back here. And you didn't put them in the box. All right, Jeff, you remember your card? Do you think I can predict the future? Well, then you might as well just sit down. No. All right, let's see if I can predict the future. What was your card? You forgot it, didn't you? What was your card? Three of diamonds. Okay, before I came out here, when you were all trying to get coffee, I turned a card upside down in this deck of cards. Okay? So let's see how good I predicted the future. There's one card upside down. What card did you say it was? No, three of clubs. Okay, sit down. Okay, so we just had some interactivity. We had a slight bit of engagement, but nobody was immersed in it. I mean, you had to pay attention because I was giving you instructions. The audience probably loved my ability to do a little card trick, but nobody here was immersed in what just happened. We were a little bit of entertaining because it was a little bit of comedy, but we haven't got to immersion yet, okay? So let me talk about what I think are the rules to immersion. Okay. Oh, by the way, as we just saw, immersion and interaction does not guarantee audience engagement. That's what was the point of that experiment. So here's some examples of, and I'm not going to say whether they're good, whether they succeed, or whether they don't, because that has to be on you to tell me. Okay, so here's some examples of interaction or an attempt at immersive theater. Okay, some of them are very successful. The guests are totally immersed. Some aren't. Why is that? It's because of the storytelling. It's because we haven't caught their emotional connection to what we're trying to do. Okay, here's maybe some better examples. How many people have seen Sleep No More? Sleep No More. Sleep No More, highly interactive, highly immersive, because of the story. You care about the story. You care about the characters. There's this emotional connection that you have with the story. Okay? Okay, so here's the bottom line, though. Immersive creation doesn't follow any one formula. There's lots of different ways to do it. It really depends on what your production requires. Okay? So here's some things that you have to think about. The scale of your production, is it large or small? That will determine what kind of immersion, what kind of interactivity you need to provide. Okay? Is your story, is it a linear story? Is it a non-linear story? That, again, will change the way you decide how to immerse your guests. Is the audience a participant, or are they just voyeurs? At Sleep No More, are you a participant, or are you a voyeur? Both. You get to choose, right? And we're going to talk about audience getting to choose how they want to participate. Reactions. The audience reaction, is it crucial or inconsequential? If an audience chooses not to play along, does your show still work? So those are important things to consider when you start to think about how to create an immersive experience in your production. Okay. Again, we don't have a definition of exactly what audience engagement means, but I have some rules that I use on what it is and what it isn't. Okay? Audience engagement is voluntary. It is not forced. Okay? Try and force an audience member to be part of your theater when they don't want to be a part of your theater, and you'll see how quickly it falls apart. I think audience engagement is structured. It may seem unstructured, it may seem random, it may seem uh, just like free flow, but our interaction was not. It was very structured. I knew exactly what card it was. I knew how to get you to stand up. I knew all of that stuff was very structured. So audience engagement is not unstructured. It's very structured. The trick is to make it look natural. Great storytelling, right? Audience engagement has to be great storytelling. It has to be. I get tired of people telling me the way to get audience engagement is to have more immersion. It's not the way. Immersion is just one of the tools. If you don't do it right, you could be standing in the most immersive space around, but if you're not engaged, if you're not connected, you failed, okay? And finally, audience engagement is enclosing the audience. You bring them in. We're now a community. We're all in this together. You don't want to expose the audience. You don't want to embarrass somebody. You don't want to point out somebody that's not participating. That will destroy your production as well, okay? So what are we trying to get at here? What are we trying to get the audiences to feel? And here's a word I like to use when I read a script or something, or get a pitch of something. Am I spellbound? Have you roped me into the story? Spellbound is a word that we typically don't use anymore, but it is a word I think we should start using more. Now, psychologists have a word for this. It's called flow. It's the moment when your brain kind of goes into its own space and time seems to stop, and you're so engaged with what you're doing, the distractions go away. Now, if we could do this in a theme park world, it'd be awesome. It'd be great. And there are some situations, I think, where it works well. The pirate ride across the street works well. You are totally immersed in that story. Well, you don't think about, oh, I'm in a boat with 20 other people. You're immersed in that story, okay? Now, flow is essentially characterized by the sense of space and time has stopped, okay? So let's try and get that. Now, if there's one thing that you could take away from my silly 20 minutes of talking, it's this. The more you master the art and science of touching the emotion of your audience, the more that you can hold their attention. It's all about an emotional connection with the audience. We do it with great storytelling. Okay, here's some rules. Here's some rules of engagement. They're not necessarily rules but they're just kind of guidelines that I try and use as I figure out the next attraction. The audience is number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. Go down as far as you want to go. Everything you do, every decision you make should be made for the audience, not for your own ego, not because you want to try something new. It's because the audience will like it. They will demand it. So rule number 1, don't ever forget the audience. Show audience the relationship in your production. Audiences, what is their role? They want to know what's going on. You don't have to give everything away, but make sure that they know what part they play in this production or in this attraction. Are they a voyeur, the participant? What are they doing? Okay? Give the audience the rules. This kind of goes with number 2. The audience first reaction to participation is frequently don't want to do it. I mean, several of you raised your hand when I asked for a volunteer, but most people didn't want to participate. We're afraid, right? So regardless of how linear or nonlinear your production is, be sure your framework allows the audience to their degree of participation. Not everybody is comfortable participating or being on stage or being singled out. So if your production or attraction requires participant involvement, have a plan 2. Have a backup plan, because they may not want to participate. So make sure you have a backup plan. My backup plan, if no one volunteered, was to volunteer somebody up here in the front, because they have to play along. Okay. You want to see some immersive site-specific theater, then go to the theater. In other words, don't force an immersive or interactive show if it's going to be gimmicky. Okay, it's just everybody will know it's gimmicky. I mean, we've all seen uses of VR where it's like, why is this VR? Why don't you just have a different experience? It becomes gimmicky, and I think the audience then doesn't buy in so much. Okay, so trick is don't be gimmicky. If you can look at your production and you can say, will this production be better with interactivity or some kind of immersion? And the answer is yes, then go do it. Have a great time. Okay. Don't be gimmicky. Someone just said that. Change it up. You want to get the audience attention, you've got to change things. You've got to make little minor things. Right now, we're not paying attention to the hum of the air conditioner. But if it's shut off or turned back on, we'd notice it. We'd notice little things like that. If the light starts to flicker, we'd notice that. Okay, so you got to change it up sometimes. That will help keep the audience attention to your production. Okay, remove the fourth wall. All of you theater people know the fourth wall, right? It's this barrier between actor and audience. You have to remove that fourth wall to create an immersive experience, because the definition of immersion is to come in to the story. If you've got this fourth wall here, you're preventing the audience from entering your story. So whatever the fourth wall is to you, whether it's a physical space or you have people on a stage, you have to try and remove that fourth wall. You get better results with immersion. Okay. Inauthenticity will kill it. Will kill any kind of immersion or interactivity. The audience knows when you're faking it, right? So if you say, we just have this elephant coming in the room and there's no elephant, automatically the audience will stop believing everything you're going to tell them. It just becomes a snowball effect of unbelieving, disbelief. Okay? So, good actors are the gateway to audience participation. I've seen so many really cool ideas fail because the person who was hosting or spieling or was the actor was horrible. And you just feel embarrassed and you get like, oh, when is this going to be over? But I've also seen some really kind of iffy immersion attempts, but the actor is good, has a great presence. You start to buy into it. And then you start thinking less about what's gimmicky. And you're immersed in what they're telling you, what the story is. Okay, so if you can get good actors, get good spielers, that's really great. Don't make it too easy or too hard. The audience likes to be challenged. The audience likes a little challenge. They don't like to know what's going to happen before it happens. So don't make it too easy. Don't make it too hard. If you make it too hard, the audience will get lost. You're going to lose your audience as well. So don't make it too easy or too hard. Tell stories. If I came into you and I started just talking, you might tune in or you might tune out. However, if I went up to you and say, Christine, let me tell you a story, automatically your brain clicks into this point of, I have to listen now. 70% of what we learn through stories. It's in our genetic code. So tell stories. Tell good stories. Make it short. TED Talks are 20 minutes long for a reason. These presentations that we do are 20 minutes long for a reason. The audience starts to lose their energy and they need to get re-energized again, whether it's a break or a change of speakers. Keep it short. It's more interesting. Let them want more, okay? They were going to come kill me if I spoke too fast. I think I'm good. I want to do one more experiment. And I want to change it up. So last time, we just had a one-on-one kind of experiment. But how can I involve the entire audience? So I'm going to try and do the same trick again with using the entire audience. Now, Thomas is going to pass cards out in the back. I'll pass cards out in the front. Here's what you do with the playing cards. You take a card. Everybody's going to doesn't matter what card you get, and you take 2 business cards. 1 card, 2 business cards. Because why do we come to SATE? Why do you invest in SATE? Why is your company investing you to come to SATE? To learn, but also to network. So I'm going to force you to network right now. All right, here we go. Cards here. And while these are being passed out, I'm going to try and make another prediction. So if you can You can just pass those in the back. And pass those in the back. Just make sure everybody gets one card and one card only. And I'm going to make another prediction here. All right. Are we good? Almost? Okay. Okay? All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to shuffle that. We have to shuffle the cards. So what you're going to do is you're going to stand up. You're going to turn to a neighbor. You can walk across the theater and hand your card, exchange your card, your playing card, with one business card. All right? Shuffle the deck. Shuffle up, shuffle up, shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. Both. You want to exchange your business card and a playing card. You want to exchange both. Going to do it twice.
I didn't get a card.
Oh, we give you a card.
Oh, really?
Oh,
It's okay.
I don't have.
It's okay, Paul.
Okay, all right. Then we can't pick you then because you.
No,
Okay.
no.
Okay.
Okay, and I like this card too.
All right. Everyone's meeting somebody new. Exchanging cards.
I have a fresh card.
All right. Shuffle one more time. Give your second business card to somebody else and exchange the playing cards. All right, now everybody go back to their seats. Now you found somebody that you can meet up at lunchtime and introduce yourself. All right. All right. I'm going to ask you to give me a number between 3 and 10. So. Okay, thank you. All right, everybody sit down so we can watch the magic happen. Okay, great. All right. The deck has been well shuffled, apparently. So I want to point something out. I want to point out the amount of energy in the room when I did this the first time with one person and the amount of energy that we just generated by involving everybody. It's quite a difference, okay? So, see if we can wrap this up. Michael, as president of TEA, give me a number between 3 and 10. 10. I have my fuzzy ball. I'm going to throw it out in the audience. If you catch it, we're going to throw it back and forth 10 times. 10 is the number, okay? So, if at the number 10 you don't have a playing card, give the ball to somebody else. Okay, here we go. 1. Throw it either way. You can hand it to a neighbor. There you go. There's 3. Okay. There's 4. Excellent. There you go. 5. There's 6. 6. All right. 7. 8, 9, and one more throw. There he goes. Robert, excellent. Robert, what card did you get shuffled? Ace of spades. All right. Okay, you said the 4 of diamonds. You know, Robert, this presentation ends much better when we can actually match cards. Ace of spades. How did you screw this up? Okay. All right. Of course. Ace of spades. So anyway, thank you all very much for indulging me. I hope you pick something up and can use it as you create your own mega productions. And on with the show. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you so much, Paul.